but she's creating a beautiful photo. So if she posts that photo and says, oh, I'm gonna boost it, you can boost that photo and a lot of people will go follow her. Or if I just take a selfie, like, and I boost that, who's coming, So it's really just about using your resources that you have and not really worrying about, like, I feel like people worry about what they don't have instead of focusing on what they have and like how to use it.
I think
And
that's
so,
exactly that's a strong point. Everybody always says, "If I only had this, if I only had that." No, but maybe you only have this. So why are you worrying about if you only had? Those are the things you cannot control. You can only control the things that you have.
yeah,
Kelly, growing up as a little short kid who was dyslexic, who got left back, who had no money, I was all right. Okay, I was cute. But other than that, I had nothing, and I didn't concentrate on what I didn't have. I concentrated on what I did have. I had the ability to go out there and talk to people. I loved hip hop. I had a bunch of friends. I was ready to work 24/7 and get up before everybody and go to sleep after everybody. That's what I had. And I know it's a lot of other people were sitting there just complaining. I was like, all right, well, why are you complaining? I'm going to go and do what I got to do.
yeah. So you said two things that are important. One, Daymond is dyslexic. A bunch of the sharks on Shark Tank are dyslexic. A huge number of entrepreneurs are dyslexic. I know these stats because I was his PR person and he taught it to me, like, because he does a lot of charitable work for dyslexic associations and just focused on, making people who have dyslexia know that, like, it is not going to impede your success. And if anything, it can help your success.
Yeah.
A girl DM'd me maybe 3 days ago, and I sent her to your page because she was just like, I love what you do. I want to be a writer, but I'm dyslexic. And I was like, no, but I'm dyslexic. And I was like, I worked for like a genius who was dyslexic, and there's so many resources. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you are a champion of how dyslexia makes you a great entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think dyslexia makes people great entrepreneurs. Also, the bad side to dyslexia is that a lot of people are in the wrong place due to it. But yeah, I think 7 or 8 presidents were dyslexic. Einstein was dyslexic. I think they say about 85% of professional chefs are dyslexic. 40-something% of entrepreneurs are, as well as 8 of the 12 sharks have been dyslexic. I think that the dyslexia to me was that if I would read a book or something like that, I wouldn't necessarily know if I retained all the information. So I'd go out and do what the book said and try it. I also would read a book 3 or 4 or 5 times. So I made sure I retained the information. And the reason, so that action, that taking action, stopped me from having analysis paralysis, which a lot of people go, I can't get out the gate until I get this, till I get that, till I get this. I used to go, I just got to get out the gate because I don't even know if I'm doing it right. But unfortunately, and I only say this because people who have loved ones who may be suffering from dyslexia, there's no pill. Like, dyslexia and lack of hearing are 2 things that can't easily be solved. And there's no pill for dyslexia. So just like ADHD and all the other things, ADD, you can get a pill that can help that. That means there's money being generated. That means that the drug companies can educate people more on, and the doctors can talk more about it. If a kid is dyslexic, the only cure for it is to learn more and learn a different way. So if a kid says, well, I'm dyslexic, that's not trying to get out of anything. But the reason why lack of hearing and dyslexia becomes a challenge is because a kid in the 3rd grade, they don't want to go, huh? Because, of course, kids are cruel and other kids call them idiot and they bully them. So what happens is those kids, just like all the successful dyslexic people, a lot of those kids, if they don't have great resources and great family members, or they live in a great environment where people can say, I'm going to work with you, then somebody says, I don't care if you're dyslexic. You want to stand on the corner and make some money? I got
Yeah,
ways that you can make some money.
yeah.
And because this wasn't addressed at an early age, then the kids sometimes end up going down the wrong path.
But I think that's why it's important that people like you and other people who are seen as successful or smart or cool even say, I have dyslexia, and are very vocal about it, because the stigma is less. So like the little kid will be less afraid to say, I don't understand this, or,
Yeah.
can you go back? And then if they say like, okay, I have dyslexia, and they go, oh, it's normalized. Like, oh, well, lots of people have that, and that's not a big deal. It's like with any sort of
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
marginalized.
It's a new way, to 20% of the world is dyslexic, and reading is fairly new to us as a species. I mean, I don't know, it's been around maybe about 1,000 years, but that's why you see the hieroglyphics and many things. That's the way that we usually absorb information. Now, we can talk about it forever, but you know, like if you see that a child or anybody is reading, and after they read 1, 2, or maybe 4 pages, they start to get tired. That's a form of dyslexia, because what happens is the one part of your brain is now being pulled by various parts to absorb the information. But then again, you know, there's so many resources you could go on to. I know Yale has a good program for dyslexia, and so many. You just pull it up and you can take a dyslexic test online fairly easy.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is struggling with that or has a family member, be encouraged and share that so many successful people have dyslexia and have learned to navigate and used it as a tool to be creative and out of the box thinkers. So I just wanted to share that. The second thing that you said that I thought was super important is that you were willing to like wake up before everybody and go to sleep after everybody. And that is like something that I too have like would call part of my success. So when, you know, other people are like, how do you post every day or how do you whatever? It's like, because I love it and I'm willing to do the work, and I
Yeah.
have no expectations of a magic bean being dropped on my head and being given anything. Like, I want it and I'm going to scratch my nails into the concrete to get it. And you're the same way. And so I feel like that's how we like vibe before we even knew each other. Was kind of like, you scrappy people always recognize scrappy people, and we're always like, you'll do whatever it takes. And so you want to share how, like, maybe if that's not in your DNA, if that's not your natural way to be, like, do you have any tips for people who can kind of work around their own lack of that?
Well, I say the first thing is, of course, you guys set a goal on what you want to accomplish, and then you have to say, how am I going to accomplish that? And, you know, the old saying is sacrifice is giving up something of lesser value for something of greater value. But if you look at a chart on what you do daily, if you look at how many times you've been flipping through Instagram and laughing and going and looking at movies and shows that don't educate you, and you compound and put those hours together, you may say, wait a minute, I just put in, you know, I put in 1,000 hours this year on shit that don't matter, you know, and what if I would have put in 500 hours on these areas of growing, and those are going to pay the best dividends, you know. I saw an interview with Warren Buffett and Jay-Z, and he said, how do you, you know, what do you do when you invest? And Warren Buffett said, the only thing I can invest in is myself, because I'm always going to be trapped in this body. And I can't, again, like I said earlier, I can't control a lot of things going on in the market, but I can control what I put in my body, whether it's physically or mentally and stuff like that, content-wise, and I can control my time to the most part if I can. And I say all that to say that if you have a job right now, or you're afraid and you may be fearing having a job, don't overthink it. Put in an hour a day on that other area that you want to go into. So 2 things are going to happen out of that. You know, over the course of a month, you're going to say, I didn't really want to do this. I hate this thing. You know what I mean? Or you're going to go, I really want to do this. I'm going to put in 2 hours. You know, so every time that you see me waking up before somebody or going to sleep after somebody, sometimes, you know, I failed. I would say, honestly, out of those things, 75% of the things I failed or I stopped short on, but at least I went down the path and I realized that I no longer want to do that, you know, at this age in my life. But the couple of times I succeeded, it has empowered me forever, period.
Yeah. So, talking about like an hour here, an hour there, I know the story of like when you were starting Fubu, you were working at, what's the restaurant? Red
Red
Lobster?
Lobster, yeah, Red
Yeah.
Lobster, yeah.
And so Red Lobster and driving a car and doing all these things and feeding your dream, right?
Yeah.
And so for the influencers in the room, I get a lot of like when people, especially if they're just brand new, they're like, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, I did this for free for a long
Yeah,
time. Like,
sure.
I was just posting. I was Daymond John's PR director. I worked at this agency. I was doing content. I was building a swim brand. You know, I was doing all these other things while creating the content. And so that I give people the advice that when the reason that you want to do that is because then, especially in a service field where it's not a product and you're just waiting to like sell a million of them, you don't have to dumb down your prices. So as an influencer, what was important for me is like, I wanted to be able to pick and choose the jobs so that if a brand comes to me and they're like, hey, Kelly, your content is great, and we're going to pay you $500 to post on your Instagram feed, but I want 3,000, right? So if I need $500 to like pay my health insurance and my phone bill, I'm going to take the job below what I'm supposed to take it for because it's a need versus like letting my building that business to where I could say no to things. And then once I was getting paid what I should be paid regularly, letting go more and more of the like day job. And I know that that's what you talk about, like working at other jobs so that, you know, everything's not an emergency. You know, you're not
Yeah.
going to just someone sees like, wow, this kid has a brilliant t-shirt business. He's tapped into all these musicians. He's besties with LL and this one and the other. And you don't have your Red Lobster in the car business to like feed you. So then someone comes in and says, I'm gonna give you $50,000 for your business, and you would just be like, oh my God, I hit it big. That's it, because you needed that money versus playing the long game and building it so it's multi-million-dollar business that can be sold for a gajillion dollars, you know? So what would you say is, or can you just give some tips on or encouragement to people to keep their day gig so that they can support the dream and build it?
100%. So you have to keep the lights on, and one of the main reasons for one of the top reasons for divorces are financial stress in the home. But maybe everybody here is not married, right? But financial stress, corrodes you, right? You can't even be productive at your dream job if you have financial stress. So if you don't think that you're okay at the moment, you need to keep the lights on. You should go and do the things that you need to do so you can figure things out over a year, 2 years, 3 years of what you're doing. Because if you don't have anything else of that, what you do is you then are stressed out in 3 months and 6 months, and you make bad decisions, and those bad decisions corrode the rest of your potential future. And that doesn't even mean when you are starting out. We have a guy that we both know who DJs for me when I'm on the road and stuff like that. And an amazing guy. He has an amazing DJ business and wedding planning business. Where do you think his business is right now? Nobody's doing anything. And you know what? I said to him one day, I said, well, he said, well, I got to go to work. I said, where? He said, Home Depot. I said, I know you have enough money. I know you have properties that are paying you, real estate investment properties. I know you can last over the next year, year and a half. He said, but I don't want my kids to see me sitting around. He was like, I'm
Wow.
going to do this. I'm going to keep myself busy because a body not in motion stays not in motion. And I want my kids to see during this time, I took my ass over there and I busted my ass to make sure that you always have to pivot, even though I have the money. And the money that I have coming in, I'm going to invest it in other things. So it doesn't mean you have to do that just when you're starting out. Just like when you said, Damien, you're so busy, I'm doing a lot of things that I didn't necessarily know would create additional income. But now I'm a 3-time best-selling author. My first 2 books didn't sell that well, but I figured it out, right? And I could have said, man, I'm too busy because, being dyslexic and writing a book is extremely hard, and then going on the tours and all that type of stuff. And it did take away from various other things. But now, I know that I've empowered people. I know that, I'm a best-selling author, and I know that I can create content out of that and it created a whole new lane in my life. But during the time when I was super busy, I just said, I just got to stack more hours onto here. And thank God I got a significant other that supported me during the course of doing that. And of course, a lot of times when you're going out and making these sacrifices, just make sure that the people around you, whether it's your brother, your sister, your family, or your husband, your wife, your kids, they feel like they're part of that process. They're part of doing that because then they play like a team instead of you going, I got to get out of here and do this. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's the mental things all the way behind you, from the financial stress to the support of a family that allows you to go out and do this and tell them the picture. I'm going to do this, and maybe we'll fail or maybe we'll not. But if I get this done, we're going to have this. What do you need to help support me? What do I need to support you during this time?
Mm-hmm. So, excellent point. So the whole best-selling author, we love it. I'm most familiar with Power of Broke just because I was so in that moment. But Power Shift, I mean, I can make assumptions. I didn't read it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it.
No problem.
But if you talk about, I'm sure it's about just a shift in your mentality, and because I've read like a lot of notes about it.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about it? And we're all gonna go buy the book, right? All of you guys watching, we're gonna go buy the book.
Well, I hope you do, and I'm gonna have to bounce in a little bit. And we can do
Yeah.
another one of these because I was late and I now had to do, me, my
All
schedule
right.
like
So
boom, boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
yeah, yeah.
But let
So
me tell you, I didn't expect them. Obviously, I started this book about a year and a half ago, and what happened was people had said to me, I read your book Power Broke, I read your book The Brand Within, I read your book Rise and Grind, but I can't do all that. And I was like, why? They were like, because somebody took power away from me, or I'm waiting for my husband or wife, or I'm waiting for my boss to give me power. And I said, who the hell is going to give you power? Nobody's going to give you power. I'm not going to come to your house and take you off the couch and give you power. The only way that I'm going to do that is if I think that you're doing enough that I am going to have you empower me, and together collectively we're going to be two powerful people. But I studied a lot of people in the book. So I put in there Lindsey Vonn, I put in there Billie Jean King, Mark Cuban, Pitbull, and other people you will not know. And I said to myself, how does a person like Diddy end up becoming super as an intern? Then he becomes running a very successful record label. Then he becomes a very successful music artist. Then he goes to the top of the game in fashion and eats some of my lunch. And then he goes and becomes very successful in a liquor brand. It's hard enough to become successful in just one of those brands. You see it with Magic Johnson. You see it with the Kardashians. I got Kris Jenner in my book. I said I want to put together what are the things that all these people have in common. Lindsey Vonn practices 4 years to win over milliseconds against every single skier on the planet. She's the most winningest person in the world when it comes to skiing. The Kardashians, their 15 minutes of fame has gone on forever. How do people do this? And I put in the book all those things because people think negotiations are purely when you go on the Shark Tank, you stand in front of us and you negotiate. And in 8 minutes, you either got the deal or not. No, it's not. It's exactly what you're doing right now, Kelly, and what everybody who watches you do. When you get what you want, it's a three-part. It is building influence. It is negotiating what's in the best interest for the other person on the table and knowing why you're negotiating and where you want to draw the line. And it's nurturing those relationships afterwards because the first time you negotiate with somebody, you almost never get the deal.
mm-hmm.
It's usually after that you get it because either that person talked to somebody else or they want to revisit what you're saying. And even if you don't ever do a deal, that person will go off and either do a deal with you down the line or tell 10 other people how great you are or how much you suck. Either way. And I always use the example of somebody said, well, Daymond, if I'm in an elevator with you for 90 seconds, how can I do all that? Well, here's what you do. And I always tell this is a true story. This woman was talking to me in an elevator. She said, I have this company and I know that I can add value to you, but I don't want any of your money. I will give you a test, so I'll work with anybody you want. And I know that this fits your portfolio here, here, here. Why don't you look me up and have your people contact me? If not, I wish you all the best and I'll see you in the future. All right. That was the negotiation part. And they don't always go the same. And it was what's in the best interest for me. I leave the elevator, pick up my phone. I look her up. She looks great. She's on Instagram. She looks great. Everything looks great. But every single time, not every single time, but about 1 out of every 4 pictures, she keeps taking a picture with this guy. And the guy either has on a Confederate flag t-shirt or a Confederate flag hat. I looked deeper into it. It was her husband. I don't have time to talk to her anymore because whether she agrees with it or not, I assume she agrees with that. And so her influence was ruined here. She'll never know why she never got the call from me. So, when I say power shift, there's a lot of different things in that book and a lot of examples from really amazing people. And I go through my books learning. I go through my books on a journey asking Kris Jenner or Pitbull or, Mark Cuban the questions that I want to know to empower myself. And in return, then I share my story and I weave it all together for people to use, for their best, for their advantage.
You guys, buy the book. I'm going to go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm such trash for not having got it yet. I'm like,
No, it's
man,
okay. There's a lot of books out there, a lot of content. You know what I
a
mean?
lot, a lot. I'm like reading. What is that? I barely have time. But thank you so much for doing this.
No, of course.
You're
And I'll
amazing.
come back anytime. I just
Yes.
wanted to fit this in because I have a crazy schedule. But I'm a big fan of yours as always. I'm always looking at you from afar, and you know, um, just I know the dad joke thing with you is really really important to you. So
Yeah. We vibe on that. I appreciate you. You're a stellar human being. I'll tell it to anyone who will listen. And supportive. Daymond used to introduce me and he would be like, this is Kelly Brown, this is my publicist and a prominent blogger. Like, don't have to do that. Like, why would you say that? It would just used to crack me up that you would do that. So buy the book. He has a bunch of them, but the newest one, we need that. We need to hear those stories. Thank you for doing this. And you guys, I'm going to post the live on stories. So if you missed it, don't freak out. Thanks, Daymond. Appreciate you.
All right. And somebody asked the name of the book. It's called Power Shift. And all the best to you and
Shift.
everybody else.
Bye.
Bye-bye.